Let's begin with the ideation stage, where every product journey begins. This is the phase where you are trying to uncover an unmet need or spot a gap in the market that's worth solving. The biggest challenge here is identifying a real problem, something that either hasn't been solved or could be solved in much better way. It is easy to fall in love with the ideas, but not every idea is worth turning into product. Many startup fails at this stage because they build something cool, not necessarily something needed. To avoid that, focus on two things. Conduct thorough market research, talk to users, observe behaviors, analyze trends, use tools like surveys, interviews, and computer analysis. Also use creative brainstorming technique, think design thinking, scamper, or even structured whiteboarding with cross-functional team. Think about Airbnb. It started with a simple insight. People were struggling to find affordable accommodation during events. The founder didn't start with a full platform. They started with a few air mattresses in their apartment and tested the idea. That's ideation done right, is small, focused, and grounded in real problem. Once the product idea is validated and developed, it enters the introduction stage. Now your product is live. It's real. It's out in the market. But this doesn't mean the work is done. In fact, it's just getting started. The key challenge here is gaining visibility in noisy market. You have limited awareness, possibly limited trust, and you are asking people to take a chance on something new. Convincing early adopters to try your product can feel like an uphill battle. How to overcome with these challenges? Promotional activities are critical. Use launch, campaigns, demos, social proof, and storytelling to build interest. Create awareness, thorough content partnership, and thought leadership. Make sure people know your why. Use introductory pricing to reduce the risk and first-time users. Give them a reason to buy and ideally to stick on your product. Let's take one example. When Spotify first entered the market, it didn't go head to head with the big players like iTunes immediately. Instead, they launched in select markets, offered freemium access, and focused on word of mouth and referral based growth, making the barrier to try the product as low as possible. If your introduction phase goes well, you will start to experience growth, which is exciting, but also challenging in new ways. Here, the challenge is often about managing scale. You are acquiring more users, generating more revenue, but that also means more support need, more infrastructure, and more competition because others have started noticing your success. Scale up your production and distribution to meet the demand. Enhance the product based on real customer feedback, not on assumptions. Double down on marketing, but now with more targeted and optimized strategies. Focus shift from just acquiring user to retaining and expanding your user base. Let's talk about some example or some case studies. Take Starwa, the fitness tracking app. Once it found product market fit among runners and cyclists, it scaled very quickly, adding new features like challenges, social integration, and paid premium plans. They listened to user feedback and turned a simple tracking tool into a community driven fitness ecosystem. The growth stage is your momentum zone, what it's also where you must build a strong foundation, or risk collapsing under your own success is very high. Now let's move into the maturity stage in the product life cycle where the growth curve flattens out. At this point, your product is well established in the market. You have got a solid customer base and revenue is stable or slowing. But so growth. The key challenge here is differentiation. What now? Competitors have likely caught up or launched alternatives. And your customers, they have choice right now. So keeping them loyal become harder. What can be the possible strategies? Focus on distribution. Make sure your brand is stand out. Think about emotional branding, user experience, and added value. Introduce variation. This could be a new feature, model, packaging, bundling the product to keep customer interested. Or you can explore new markets as well. Maybe the product has plateaued in the current segment, what can be launched in new geography or industries or altogether a new segment you can find out. Like think about the iPhone. iPhone is at maturity stage right now. Apple keep it fresh while launching new versions every year, adding small but meaningful innovations and expanding into services like Apple Pay and iCloud to stay sticky. Maturity doesn't mean boring, it just means evolving wisely. Eventually, most products will enter in the decline stage. That's the final stage of the product life cycle. Sales drop, customer interest fades, and the market may have moved on. This isn't always a failure. Like this phase, do not consider it as a failure. It is just part of life cycle. This stage is all about hard decisions. Should you invest in a revival? Should you retire the product or pivot to something entirely new? The strategies can be reduce cost, streamline operations, and marketing to conserve resources. Discontinue the product if it's no longer viable, especially if it's draining focus from your core offering. Find new use cases. Sometimes a product can be rebranded, repositioned, or even open sourced to extend its life. Let's take an example of BlackBerry phones. Once a market leader, now discontinued BlackBerry, pivoted from hardware to software and cybersecurity. BlackBerry as an organization has moved in that direction. They accepted the decline of the product but found a way to remain relevant. Not every product can be saved, but sometimes value can be preserved through transformation. Let's wrap up this with a quick summary of the entire product life cycle. We started with ideation, where you find a problem worth solving. Then came introduction, where the focus is on launching and gaining traction. As your product gains momentum, you enter the growth phase, scaling, competing, and improving. Then comes maturity, where innovation becomes about refinement and differentiation. And finally, decline, where you must decide, retire, evolve, or pivot. Because every stage, the goal, strategies, and mindset require are different. You can apply growth tactics. You can't apply growth tactics to a declining product, and you shouldn't over optimize a product that hasn't yet found market fit. Understand the life cycle, help you make better decisions, reduce waste, and maximize value, both for your business and your customers. If you think of Netflix, it is started with DVD rental, right? You can see it as an ideation and introduction phase. Grow rapidly with streaming at the growth phase and matured with original content, and now faces market saturation and new competitors pushing it constantly reinvent. Yeah. Now quickly, let's look into this, how this product life cycle insight will be helping in the product strategy that we look into this course. So now that we have understood the product life cycle, the big question is, how do we use this knowledge to make smarter product decisions? Let's talk about three critical ways to apply life cycle insight to shape your product strategy effectively. Allocate resource wisely. At each stage of the product life cycle, your ROI looks very different. So instead of applying the same level of resources across all products or stages, prioritize your effort. Invest heavily during the growth phase. That's when your product is gaining traction and every marketing dollar or feature addition can deliver high return. During maturity, shift focus to cost efficiency. You want to maintain your market share without overspending. In the decline phase, be very selective. Either you minimize investment or shift resources to your next promising product. Think of an portfolio management. You are not just building products, you are managing product asset at different stages of their journey. Tailor marketing efforts. Your marketing must evolve as the product evolves. In the introduction stage, your marketing should focus on awareness and education. You are telling the market why product matters in growth. Lean into competitive positioning and customer success stories to accept or accelerate the adoption stage. Innovation and extend. Finally, use the understanding of the life cycle to prolong or pivot your product journey. Just because a product is mature doesn't mean it's done. You can repackage, reposition, or revamp the product, or find new market where your existing product is still feels free. So knowing what stage your product is in help you act with clarity and confidence, whether it is about investing, innovating, or letting go. Your product strategy should never be static. It should adapt to the life cycle stage, the market dynamics, and the evolving customer needs. This is how you shift from reactive to strategic product thinking.